And maybe to know more about us, we have provided a video for us to watch before we begin our discussion this afternoon. Okay, play the video. All right, that's maybe a glance about our organization, International Politics Forum. You can follow our social media to know more about us and to know our updates too. Okay, without any further ado, maybe I'll just jump to the main discussion today with our three great speakers. So today we have already had Mr. Michael Vatikiotis, an Asian and Middle East politics observer, who has already been here with us, and also Dr. Abida Rafique, an international observer from Pakistan, and also we have Mr. Nesar Ahmad Rahmati, an international relations observer too from Afghanistan. And okay, good afternoon all. Thank you for making your time for this discussion. It's really an honor for us to have you all here. And maybe for now, I will just start from Mr. Michael Vatikiotis. Are you ready for the material, Mr. Michael?
Yes, Nuraini, yes, thank you very much. It's very good to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I'm afraid that I can't stay for too long because my plans changed. I'm actually in Jakarta, and I have to fly this afternoon. But I will try to stay for as long as possible after my presentation, just in case there's some discussion. On this Israel-Palestine issue, I'll just offer a few thoughts based on my own experience and knowledge of the situation. To give you some background, my family actually is from that part of the world. My father's a Greek Palestinian, my mother's an Italian from Egypt. So I've spent a lot of time throughout my childhood, and my father was a Middle Eastern expert. So throughout my life, I've lived with this problem, both as a child, as a teenager, a student, and a practitioner. First of all, I think it's important to say that the long history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has seen very few promising efforts to reach a solution. But they principally began, after the 1967 and 1973 Arab-Israeli wars. First, there was the breakthrough Camp David Accords in 1976 that sealed peace agreements between Israel and Egypt as well as Jordan. Now, this created a platform for the negotiation of the Oslo Accords, which were signed in 1993 and provided some arrangements on the ground for the Palestinian territories, which laid the foundations of a negotiation for a two-state solution. Under the Accords, importantly, Palestinian leaders officially recognized Israel's existence as a legitimate state, hoping that in turn they would be able to establish their own state. Now, following the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, by an Israeli radical in 1995, the conditions for peace greatly deteriorated. And basically, since then, the past 4 decades, Israel has staunchly resisted any moves towards negotiating an agreement that would see a Palestinian state established. So that's 40 years of resisting any agreement that would see a Palestinian state established. Meanwhile, around 500,000 settlers from Israel have illegally occupied land in the Palestinian West Bank, the occupied territories. And of course, as we see today, for the last 2 years almost, a vicious war rages in Gaza. So it's no wonder that most Palestinians have given up hope for a two-state solution. Meanwhile, the neighboring Arab states, and I think this is an important point, they tend to see the Palestinian issue as a problem they would rather see swept under the carpet. Even liberal Israelis, who would support the end of the war in Gaza because it risks turning Israel into an international pariah state, see ending the war as a pathway to normalizing with other Arab states, but not necessarily resolving the Palestinian issue. So I think this is a very important point to bear in mind. There is little enthusiasm in the neighborhood, the Arab states, and even the most moderate Israelis, for resolving the issue and establishing a Palestinian state. So given these circumstances, what could be done in the current circumstances? I think, that's really the important, question to address. What possibly could be done? My own view is that there's an urgent need to consider by what means a Palestinian state could be negotiated and established. We all talk about the two-state solution as if it's a slogan, a convenient slogan, but there's really a serious lack of thinking about the process to achieve any form of Palestinian statehood. No one is thinking about how to do it. Second, it's very important that Palestinians are consulted. The current leadership in Palestine does not represent the majority of people in either the Gaza Strip or the occupied territories, not to mention the millions of Palestinian refugees who live outside the country. It's important to note that the gap in age, the age gap between the current leadership of the Palestinian Authority and the PLO and the majority of Palestinians is in the region of something like 50 years. The gap between the leadership, the age of the leadership, and the Palestinians, the majority of Palestinians, that's 50 years. It's almost 2 generations. They're completely out of touch with the reality of most Palestinians face and think about. The international community, I think, thirdly, must address the serious threat to international law, both in terms of the UN Charter and humanitarian principles that the war in Gaza has posed. This is a very, very important thing to try and do, because given the failure of the United Nations Security Council and Western powers to set up any kind of accountability means that international law, not just the issue of Palestine itself and the tragedy of the Palestinians and the wars that are currently raging in the region, it goes far further beyond the rest of the world, in the sense